So we want to find the first negative value in a row of numbers and then determine how long it takes to recuperate that amount. So let's just take a look at the data here. Here we have a row of numbers and we have different rows going down. We want to find the first negative number, so I'll just turn that on. So we see in this first row it's negative 700. And what we want to do is then try to figure out, okay, how long does it take to make back the $700 when we take the money from the next data points. So what I have over here is just sort of a moving sum. We start with 0, then we get the first value, 128, which is the value here. And now this represents the first two added together. And of course, this is the first three numbers after the first negative added up and all the way across. So our final answer is determining how many numbers does it take. And we see that it takes 5. If we'd only had 4, that's 610, these numbers added up, less than 700. So we actually need 5. So here's our final answer. So let's start off with the steps. Step 1, we want to find the negative value. So what I'm doing here is kind of interesting, because normally I would just use an array formula to do this. But this, instead, it uses an index. That's where it starts, in the inside of this. The index is saying this, that range less than 0. So we look at all these numbers and we test each one to say, is it less than 0? I'm going to press the F9 key on the keyboard, and we see we get a bunch of true and false values. So the third value in here is a true, which corresponds to the first negative number in our range. So now I'm just going to undo that. And when we get that true value out of all this, now we're saying match or look for our true within all of this. So that gives us a number. So it's going to look for, find a 1, 2, 3. There it is. And then that number 3 feeds into the beginning part, which is just this range. That range of values will give me the third one. So it's right here, negative 700. And next I'm saying get the column number, or really it's the position within this range where we find that negative 700. So it's the same formula as we have here. It's just a little bit shorter to say just give us the number itself, not the the position of it, not the actual negative value. So that's a little bit easier to explain because we've already done this. So it's a 3 in this case, 1, 2, 3. Now it gets interesting. Step 3 is here, and we want to create a moving sum after the first negative value in each row. So of course, here's the first value, and it is a 128, the first positive value, or the first value after the first negative. So how did I do this? Well, basically, we're just using these numbers we already have. We have a 3, which is, so we know it's the third one, and then I'm just saying, using this counter at the top. So I'm actually, the range starts over here in column A. So it's just 3 and a 1 is 4. And then the next time it'll be a 3 and a 2 is 5. So that goes all the way across. Now, if I go to the next one here, you notice the formula changes a little bit because I have to add the value, go get the second value, which is 324, but I'm adding the 128. That's why this 452 is basically the sum of the first two numbers. So we do that all the way across until the end. And then step 4 is basically the match, saying take this value, and we're going to get rid of that negative sign. We're using the absolute function inside of here to say just turn it into a positive, or basically remove the negative sign and look for it within this range of values. And we have the true, indicating that we know the exact number is not there, like 700, but we're looking for it between each pair of numbers like this. So it gives us a 5. So I forgot I had another conditional formatting thing here that shows us the answer basically over on this side. So we see that the 700, we find it again between the 610 and 953. In the next row, 828, well, that's in between these two values. It's the fourth one. And you'll also notice that what I did right in here, let's just look at this one. Why are there blanks? Well, here the first negative value is sort of towards the end, and we can't keep pulling out values simply moving it to the right, because we actually might get one of this value here, so we have to tell the formula to stop. So this little if statement is just basically a test to say, well, we only can get, in this case, 3 numbers, and we already have 3 numbers, 1, 2, 3, to the left here. So this is just telling, the logical test tells it, if we can't get any more, if we're adding up the counter, the 8 and the 4, and that's greater than 11, simply stop, do a blank. But if that's not true, and we haven't reached that limit, this is the continue and get the next value. So I see here we don't get any more values, and here there's 1 blank because we can only pull out, after the negative 44, these, these 5 values. Starting with the 389, and there's the 5 numbers there. Of course, this is a moving sum. Now, here at the end here, I have a formula that is an array formula that would do the same things we have up here, but I just thought that this was an interesting use of the index and the match, a little bit different than simply using an array formula.